What's going on? We're gonna go over Andrew Wilson versus Coach Greg Adams debate on marriage and divorce. Basically, you know, you have two camps. You got Andrew Wilson is basically a Catholic, a white Catholic. Um, Coach Greg Adams, he's not really religious. I think he probably used to be. He's from the South, I believe. A lot of people from the South were probably raised most likely in a Christian household, Christian Baptist most likely household. So he's not really religious now. I don't know the ages of either of these men. I don't know them, but I'm gonna get right into the video. Let me share this. Get right into it. Didn't want to wait any longer, so just cue this up. I'm not gonna watch this whole live stream or video because it's like over 2 hours. I have a few minute marks that I'm gonna go over. I've always I've already talked about marriage on this channel plenty of times. Um, my stance, I am pretty pro marriage because I mean that's it's just a lot of pros and cons to it. Um, this country is designed to kind of look out for married people, whether you in corporate America, public sector, you're trying to get tax rates, favorable tax rates. All of this country pretty much is based off of married couples and families. Okay, so but the way I look at it is a little bit different. I'm not necessarily in agreement with the laws in this country either. So I agree with the Coach Greg Adams in that, but what I don't agree with is to be a simp and just get any woman you can because you ain't getting no pussy. I don't agree with that. And a lot of men they fall for women that are subprime. I call them subprime. Uh and they're not, they have very difficult relationships because basically a couple things they fall in lust. Okay, they fall in lust. A lot of men fall in lust. They don't know the difference between love and lust, so they fall in lust, and then they pick terrible women. Um, and usually those end up in a situation where they either end up in divorce or some lengthy, long-term, toxic co-parenting situation to where the man is financially abused by child support or a combination of child support and alimony, as well as splitting assets for men that have those. So let me get into this. Let me just get right into this. And we'll start because I need full bandwidth for this. So let me close some things on out. Get prepared for this. Let's see what else I need to close. I need to close this here. Let's close everything on out here. All right, so let me just click play here.
Did your guy do the update too?
It's an airplane mode, so there won't be any cheating.
It is in there. Done.
Yeah, I just have it up so that I can. That's how I'm going to see my notes.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
All right.
Do it.
Yeah. Okay, guys, finally getting started. Thanks for being patient. I know there was some delays. We got Andrew here versus Coach Greg Adams, aka the Free Agent Lifestyle. We're going to talk about today is marriage worth.
First off, as well, Coach Greg Adams is basically he's a MGTOW. He's not a MGTOW monk, but basically he's basically a MGTOW to kind of just, you know, in reference to, in case you didn't know that. So you have basically a black male MGTOW, obviously, and a Christian, a Catholic, probably a white. I think Andrew Wilson will be classified as a white Christian nationalist. So you got a white Christian nationalist, pro basically marriage, and a MGTOW, black MGTOW that's debating. So that's why this is pretty popular. You know, it's a pretty popular debate. So let's let me click on this here. Get this going.
Yeah, man, marriage is a great institution. It was an institution that built the community. Church has not progressed to the point where men could be safe legally, and a lot of men have tremendous damage, collateral damage as a result, and it has led to broken families, a lot of broken hearts, simply because the laws aren't people in a divorce. Therefore, you have no fault divorce. You have, and as a result, men have seen 1, 2, and 3 generations of men getting harmed, their grandfathers, their fathers, their uncles, their brothers getting harmed by this. So Generation Z men are not positioning themselves for positive marriage. So at this particular point, if someone asked me, would I recommend marriage for them? They were in a certain position in life, they weren't established, I would say no. There's no benefit for the person to get married today.
Got it. Your response, Andrew?
Yeah, I didn't hear any anti-marriage arguments. I heard anti-divorce arguments. So I'm with you on 100%.
Stream over.
And
but agree.
But it's a good thing that the topic isn't on divorce. It's on marriage, and it seems like you agree with my proposition then, and the proposition is that marriage, quote, is a great institution, and that right now your concern is that men can't be safe in marriage, but that you're saying that. And then we add the ecclesiastical structure of the marriage. Instead,
I had to look this up. I didn't know what a ecclesiastic marriage was. Basically, it's a marriage that is religious sponsored. It is not state sponsored. So basically, so a lot of people they do both. Like in this country, because the Constitution separates church and state. Okay, a lot of people don't remember that or realize that. So they separate church and state. So the state should not get involved in a religious matters, and religious matters shouldn't involve the state. Okay, the government. In case you didn't know what the state was. All right, so basically a religious marriage. And I'll be honest with you. I'm an honest person for the most part, right? I agree with Andrew in a sense of I am in agreement to that because if you don't technically involve the state in a marriage, basically this you won't suffer the problems that the state would do to you. And it's things that the state will do to you. And it's not so much what they will do to you, it's by proxy of filing paperwork because you're basically you get your marriage certificate from the county and it's linked up with the state, right? Which is the your state and also the government, right? So it's like a document, like a business license almost when you get married. Well, if you don't file that license, the state can't technically divorce you because you ain't never been married. Okay, so I do agree with that. I do agree with if you want to get married because see here's the thing, and I'm damn near old. I'm half of an old man. Okay, so I done did all kind of things. I've actually a lot of people don't know this, and I have not probably said this before. I may have said it, but I don't remember if I did. I have actually gotten married before, and it was not filed in the state. It was basically, it would be considered a religious marriage, okay? Or you could just even say an Islamic marriage. Basically, a couple witnesses, and then basically I was married. Now, it didn't transpire, so ultimately we went our separate ways. But yeah, I was married religiously. Nothing happened. No judgment came towards me. No paperwork came to me. No summons to court. Nothing was actually done because I didn't involve the state. The state didn't know. If I wouldn't even told you guys, you wouldn't know. A lot of people don't even know this. You know what I'm saying? Because it was just like, if you don't involve the state in it, it's not really that. It's a big deal, but it's not a lot of consequences when you kind of you don't involve the state or the government into your marriage. Now, there are certain benefits that you don't get because you don't involve the state as well, and that kind of circumvents the whole idea of the benefits of marriage because there are benefits of marriage. Well, those things are nullified when you're not married, right? When you're not married with the government. So that's the pros and cons of that. But yeah, I just had to put you on game with that.
Use the ecclesiastical church in Orthodoxy, where you see the lowest divorce rate. Because the community pressure on apply, you can go file whatever you want, get a divorce, and go be banging the neighbor by the next night. We totally agree on that. But to say that we should abandon marriage is silly. It's just throw your way where the divorce rate is the least, and you have a fiscal structure which can be appealed to assist with that. That's what makes no sense to me.
My response to that is if we're fifths, we beat all drunk. All right. So that's a scenario that just isn't present.
Can you explain the analogy for me?
Well, if we use if, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If we say if we have a situation where this is present, then this would work. That means if we had that,
we do have
work.
it right now.
Well, it doesn't necessarily work because, and I'm going to tell you why, because a woman can go to a divorce attorney and they can simply just say, hey, listen, it was a off the cuff, off the state divorce, but you got married within a certain state, or she filed in a certain state, so therefore the divorce goes. Yes, listen, I get married in the Orthodoxy, you can get married off record, but if she files and that woman is hell-bent on saying, we got married, I don't care if it was a ceremony where we walked on coals with our feet bare, that's considered a marriage. You also have common law. You have a lot of other ways for that woman to establish marriage.
How does
And
your way eliminate common law?
I don't have any way to eliminate common law.
So
what I
then-
have is a way for men to avoid
Well, then the
being
argument's
used.
silly.
No, the argument's not silly. So here's what you have. You have
Okay.
a if proposition, which doesn't exist for most men. Most men aren't religious. Most men aren't looking to be under a religious orthodoxy. So it doesn't apply. So you're taking a moral standard or a religious standard to apply to people who aren't under that veil.
With a couple in a minute. Yeah, true. Most men are religious. In fact, most of them, some of them.
But they're not religious.
Hang on. I didn't
Hold on for a
interrupt. I
second.
didn't
Right.
interrupt.
I understand,
Didn't
but let me just take that point. Most aren't under your religion.
Okay,
We can agree with that.
So here's the thing, though. But Catholicism and Orthodoxy is growing rapidly, and if it's the case that the ecclesiastical structure is already there, which it is, right? If you're going to cohabitate with a woman, the thing that you're offering right now is common law marriage anyway. If there's cohabitation at all, you're not protecting anybody from that. At least under divorce, by applying community pressure, that was the way it was always done. Apply the application of community pressure within.
So, I know some of the common law states, but just for educational purposes, let's actually look up the common law states, because there's common law states in this country where if you're with a particular woman for a particular time, y'all coupled up, you guys are considered common law by proxy of the state. All right, so these are the states that are common law: Texas, Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Montana, Rhode Island, District of Columbia, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Utah, Oklahoma, Alabama, Pennsylvania, Idaho, Ohio, California, Florida, apparently it says Indiana, but it's, I guess they have, and then they say Georgia as well, and New Hampshire. So basically these are the states. So that's like, it's only a few states. It's not all 50 states. So most of the states do not have common law marriage. So that being said, basically, the common law is not in all states. It's not recognized in all states. Okay.
And like to yap. So you get a freshly divorced woman, and she's little friends. And she starts. Women have divorced friends. The likelihood of divorce. It's just reasons. Church won't grant it because you get ostracized from that social group through excommunication, for instance, or not being able to participate anymore with that community. That's an application back that great institution, absent the state, and it avoids this whole problem of common law marriage. Because if it's married anyway inside of a state, and they can get out for divorce anyway, we need to have a president doing that. So it sounds like we agree marriage is awesome for men. Divorce is terrible for them. So it seems like we should be attacking the divorce structure here, and it doesn't seem like you actually have anything to do that other than just avoid the thing that's great for you because this other bad side effect could happen.
Sure. That's
So
like
why don't
smoking
we-
cigarettes.
So why don't we attack the bad side effect when we have the mechanism to do it? It's not if, we can do it now.
Okay,
right this
so like
second.
smoking cigarettes is the same analogy you're saying. Okay, here, cigarettes in this situation, we obviously know it has negative side effects, so you would avoid it. Now, here's the issue that I have with it. It sounds great on paper, but we can't travel to the leave. It sounds great. The majority of people probably wouldn't do it. And if you ask a guy, which this is an important part, they're not even prepared to even talk about that. They don't even know what divorce laws are. So you're asking them to travel to the land of make-believe under a marriage system that small percentage of people use. One uses it. You might have said they used it to the past. Today, that doesn't exist. So we can't travel to the land of make-believe to make marriage work for you. It might work in your marriage, but it doesn't work for the greater structure.
Your argument here contradicts itself, because on the one hand, you say men don't know enough about marriage, but my assumption is that your mission is to let men know about marriage.
Absolutely.
Okay, well then I don't understand how it's the land of make believe if you can let them know about this, but I can't.
Sure.
Right,
And
so-
you can offer that.
So if
You
I
can offer
am,
that.
it sounds like I'm offering a real alternative to what you're offering, and here's what you're offering. Men, marriage is great. For instance, that's children. These are your words. In marriage, right? Men seem to thrive. Their health seems to thrive. Everything seems to thrive. You're saying, well, the problem is that divorce rates are high, and they are. However, there's a few things there that you haven't covered. One, it depends on demographic too. For instance,
Absolutely.
if you're black, it's going to be way worse than if you're white.
Correct.
Okay, way worse. And also, socioeconomics matters, right? Demographics in general matter. So you can do a lot, actually, including prenuptial agreements. You can have a prenuptial agreement with the ecclesiastical authority without the state even involved, and it seems like that would mitigate your risk to damn near nothing.
Now, here's what I
So when you get married, regardless of you getting married with the state or getting a religious marriage, most likely you're gonna be dumping off nut in your woman. You dumping off nut in your woman is going to basically create children. You're gonna have babies. It's depending on how fertile you are, both are. You're gonna get your wife pregnant, most likely. You're gonna have kids. That is where the problem starts, as far as regardless of you having an ecclesiastic marriage, a marriage with the government, whatever. As soon as you have those future U.S. citizens, that's where basically you're going to be defaulted to most likely be at the behest of your ex-wife, or your ex-wife, to basically possibly put you on child support. Depending on your ex-wife, she might put you on child support. There's a very, very strong chance that she's going to put you on child support. And then there's 18 to 20 something years right there. Boom, you already hooked up. So it's like, even if it's like, look at it like, okay, look at marriage in America is like is two giants, or two monsters. The first monster is divorce. And the consequences of that is, yes, you have to split assets. If you have, the more assets you have, the more risk involved, right? Because the splitting of assets. Then you have children. You got in-house coochie. So you're gonna be coming in dumping off nut. That's why men want to get married. They want some convenient coochie. Okay. I know I'm being a little potty mouth, but basically that's why men typically get women to get married, and they want basically a single harem, okay, where they have this woman that could, basically they can hunch on, okay. So when doing all of that, you're gonna make some babies, okay? You know, and you love your babies, but then you have the possibility, if the relationship fails, that you basically are put on child support. And that's the second monster. That's actually the monster for divorce. It depends on how aggressive the monster is. If you're a rich man, that monster is going to be very, very, very it's going to be like a fire breathing dragon. Okay. Or if you even have a couple houses, if you have any assets, depending on how much assets you have, that monster is going to be kind of vicious. If you don't, then it might be a little baby dragon. Okay. You might have to pay alimony for about a couple years, but you don't have any assets. Maybe you guys had a house, you let her keep it. It was a mortgage on the damn house anyway. Let her pay the mortgage. And then you got to give her alimony for 4 or 5 years or something like that. But, you know, and then if you're rich, you know, then that second monster might be more vicious than, you know, someone that doesn't have much money, right? It's supposed to be a certain amount. You know, a lot of states have a table of, depending on how much you earn, how much is child support is taken out of your check, or how much you have to pay for child support. So those two monsters are, you know, basically there when it comes to marriage. And it's there even if it's no marriage. It's a lot of guys that are hooked up on child support now. They're not even married. And they dealing with that monster, and that monster is taking a chunk out of their check every single pay period. So even if you do get married, most people gonna probably have children, and then you're going to have to deal with the government either way. So it's like you trying to avoid a monster, which, okay, the divorce monster, I'll give you. The divorce monster is avoidable with the quote unquote, in theory, a religious marriage. But see, here's the thing also, and this is secondary, but it's secondary. Let's just say everybody just basically, you know, Andrew Wilson became the second coming, and everybody joined the Andrew Wilson movement, and they started to get married. You know, they just guys in the club, just like, hey, let's just get married. And then they go to the church and get married, and they never file with the state. Okay, you did avoid that first monster. You only have one monster to really deal with. I'll grant you that. You still have that second monster you're going to deal with, because you're going to probably have some kids. You know, now, again, the government and elites run the government, right? This is a plutocracy and oligarchy. Let's say everybody was just Andrew Knights, right? And they joined the Andrew Wilson movement, and they got married in the church or in a religious center, or they had, I don't know, a Star Wars wedding or whatever. Well, the government what the government might do in that case, and this is a might, they might just be like, well, we'll just make the entire federal government a federal government law, to where if you're everybody is common law. If you're living together for a year or two, you're automatically common law, which common law, because the state, basically the government, considers you a married couple, whether you like it or not. That is the basic definition of what common law marriage is. So, you know, that usually happens. The reason why there's gun laws, for example, the reason why there's gun laws and they're very aggressive is because of the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party is the very reason Black men with guns walking around with shotguns and rifles with Black Panther gear on or whatever, black jackets, with, fists in the air, is the reason why we have gun laws in this country, like aggressive gun laws. My grandfather, when he was alive, if he wanted a gun, all he had to do was, and your grandfather too, if your grandfather is like 80 or 90 years old now, even 70, well, let's just say 80 or 90 years old, right? You used to be able to, in the 1960s, if you wanted a gun, you could just get a money order or a check, pay for the postage, fill out a little card for the gun in the magazine that you like, send it in the mail, and then what do? They send you the gun through the postal service in a box, delivered to you. That was what the gun laws were in the 1960s. You can fucking buy a mail order gun without an FFL dealer, without any signatures or any type of red tape. The reason why the gun laws exist is because of the blacks. That's why there's gun laws. That's why they have extensive gun laws. And I'm not making this up. Look it up. So those are kind of like, something that could come, because nobody is going to adopt this. Most people do by proxy shack up. They do. A lot of people do shack up. Okay. That's like almost like human nature. So it's not a lot of people that do it, but it's quite a few people that do that. But it's not enough, I don't think, for the government to be like, you know what, we're just going to federalize common law marriage. So if we, pretty much got the same address for a period of years or whatever, we're going to create a department. The government can create the Department of Marriage, right? And then their job is to find out whoever's common law. They find out your common law, basically they have people coming around taking pictures and shit. I don't know. It's just, some dystopian sci-fi shit, futuristic stuff. Basically, that's not going to happen most likely though, because it's not a lot of people that are just shacking up. It is a lot of people, but it's not like everyone is just shacking up and not getting married. But, that could happen if mass adoption of people just start shacking up and having just religious marriages, walking around with wedding rings and shit and no state marriage certificate. So let me continue playing this here.
I'm telling you when. All right, we're already in this system. You're going outside of the system to create a scenario for me to argue.
What
against.
system are you going outside of?
We're talking about marriage is typically done with the state. Almost everyone does it this way.
Typically,
so now hold on for a second. You've moved the goalpost to a scenario of if, and you're arguing from the if. No, hold on for a second. You're arguing from the if perspective.
It is perspective.
Listen.
It is.
Give me a chance to listen.
All right,
give me a chance.
Go ahead.
You're arguing from a very small percentage point. Now you're saying demographics, and we can talk about that, but you're still trying to get me to argue in your cloud of if. That's the land of make believe. Most people, by far, are to the state. Not only that, land of believe still exists. The prenup with the ecclesiastics. You can write whatever you want in that prenup. It only matters the divorce. That's the reality. So I'm still in reality. You're in the clouds. Hold on for the clouds. So let's take the demographics.
Okay.
In your scenario, it sounds like, which would be fair, your primary concern is with white people.
No, it's with
hold on for a second. You said with black people, the demographics, the chance is higher.
Yeah.
So have you discovered the ecclesiastics approach to black people married within this?
Yes.
However, their demographics, which all affect marriage, has nothing to do in the land of the clouds. So the make-believe with ecclesiastics. Ecclesiastes. It's all going to boil down to in the law, wife. Do you know
yes,
any?
sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know any that can cover all marriages? That
Yes.
answer is no.
Yes. And by the way, when you keep,
Are we in reality here?
I'm
or are
trying.
we in the clouds? I
when
mean,
you're-
we're
when
not
you're-
arguing anything
I was just trying.
legitimate.
I was just
This
trying.
is this is an Atlanta make believe.
Well, when
We
I'm
don't have
allowed to
enough-
respond, let
Okay,
me
give
know.
me a second.
Go ahead.
Let me finish this point.
Go ahead.
You would be proud of you at this particular point.
But I'm imagining all the people.
You're imagining all the people under a situation and a structure that you brought in here. All right. But the state highly governs this and state highly governs divorce. I'm dealing in a reality situation where I'm trying to count. Are they willing to all do this option? The answer is probably not, just like they're not willing to do what I'm telling them to do. However, we're both attempting, which is a good thing. It's noble. However, your situation rarely exists. Can we talk about the reality of what exists?
Sure.
Absolutely. So let's take your moral religious crusade out of it and talk about the reality.
Yeah, let's
Are you
not.
willing to do that?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
See, you're not willing to do that
Well,
because it's all based on your reality.
Guess what? It's a debate, and I will argue my points from my view, how I see fit. Not for you to.
But what I'm not going to do is expect
not
to
my
be arguing
government.
from the land of make believe.
Yeah, but it's
okay.
not, you
all
don't-
right. So
okay, yeah,
anybody
my
have
turn? My turn.
Anybody have the
And just this is a side note. The government shutdown as of now is the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, 36 days. It just topped the government shutdown that was the most days was 2018 to 2019. That was during the Trump administration. Today marks the longest government shutdown in history, marking 36 days. The other record was 35 days. Today marks the 36th day of the government shutdown. So this is technically the longest government shutdown in U.S. history.
Anybody have the sound effect for the television show where the train comes through, Mr. Rogers?
Let me know
because I want to be on Earth.
Yeah. Let me know.
All
when
right,
you gas
Let's
out.
let Andrew respond.
Yeah. So the thing is it's funny that you bring up "Imagine All the People" of John Lennon, which is an anti-religious song, and hilariously enough, was designed to assist with female empowerment. Isn't that hilarious? But the thing here is, you keep on saying that what I'm offering is make-believe, but it's not. It's been governing the Orthodox and Catholic Church for 2,000 years, including in this country. Now, here, let me give you an example. The Amish, right? Do you know what the divorce rate is among them? It's almost non-existent, yet they're still governed by the same laws of the land that you're speaking to. So sounds like if I give a counter, if I say, look, I can give you a way, a methodology in which you can utilize the religious ecclesiastical institution, which has existed for 2,000 years and has right now the lowest divorce rates, right this second as we speak, not in make-believe land, not hundreds of years in the future, right this second, as opposed to the about it. That is true. So pointing out what is true is right now you can have a prenup. That is true. What is true is prenups are usually held up in court. That is true. What is true is that you can have a marriage outside of it's never been necessary. And if you do, the only way that can be done is if it's sacramental. And if it's sacramental, it's governed now by the church. That's going to be the community the women are a part of. And so the thing is, it's like, that sounds like a real viable solution. What's yours? More fucking degeneracy? Go out and play the field, hump a lot of chicks? How's that going to help anybody do anything? That's been the progressive mantra for 100 years. Isn't it wonderful? Your turn.
All right, we're returning back to Earth. Now, first things first, when it comes to this, back in reality, there's no God in marriage. So Mr. Sky Daddy, God, religion, that's all great, but there's no God in marriage. At this particular point, when you go through a marriage, if one person decides to not obey the Holy Bible or whatever you're thumping, you have no basis to keep that marriage together. If she decides to leave the church and decides not to listen or excommunicate herself, she's now under the state.
Agree.
Now, when you're getting divorced, which I'm assuming you've been divorced.
Well, I mean, that's a hell of an assumption to make.
Have you been divorced?
Well, I mean,
have you been married?
Can you tell me, if you can tell me how that has any merit?
Give me
to
a
the
second,
debate?
because if you've been through one, you would know that there's no God in the divorce court, in the family court. There's no God in there. No one asked you.
There is this.
He doesn't want to add. They both didn't want to ask certain questions because Andrew Wilson definitely have been divorced, and I don't even listen. I do not listen to. I don't listen to neither one of these guys. Now, I'm not gonna go into why I don't listen to either one of these guys. One of the things is this, right? I'll just say this. Most people that talk about relationships all the time, it's like a fad. You know, maybe sometimes you might want to listen to that, but after a while it gets repetitive. You know, and that's why I try to stay away from it, and I try to just kind of stick to talking about money and money related topics. I mean, marriage and divorce is definitely very important, but I don't really listen to the guys. Like, I don't really listen to dating coaches and all of that stuff, because basically I've already understood what's going on in America. I mean, in America, we're going through some changes in this country, and this country is trying to, you know, it's two camps. There's a classism model where people are trying to be just classes and just basically, okay, you're educated, you make a certain amount of money, you live here, and then everybody is, you know, commune, and it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are, you're in this class, you know. And then you have the old school camp of just basically white racists primarily. They don't care about class. They just want to just kind of stick to the whole racial agenda. So these two camps are, I mean, basically the racists are basically more of them than anybody. So they don't want to have this country be, they don't care anything about class. You know, they just want to kind of be race loyal, race, you know, do the whole racist thing and keep that going. But the country and the world is moving towards classism. And, you know, the racial thing is the old, you know, way of things in this country. And these two camps are kind of going back and forth with each other. Now, this country will move to that model regardless, because it doesn't matter if you're racist. That's not going to put any money in your pocket. Now, yes, you could go and grab an AR-15 and get to gunning, but then, I mean, that's still not going to put any money in your pocket. At the end of the day, lives will be lost. If you didn't, you know, off yourself, you're going to jail for the rest of your life. And then that's just how that's going to go. So it's like, basically, you know, people that are understanding, the smart ones are understanding it's not about race. You have elites that are basically controlling things, controlling systems, controlling a lot of red tape, and, you know, basically they're already wealthy and rich, and everybody else is fighting over crumbs. The intelligent people understand that. The like people that just kind of slow and they haven't figured it out yet, they still think race is they trying to hold on to the whole racial thing or identity politics thing. And it's all about like, yeah, you're not getting any money, and you being racist ain't gonna help you get money. You know, so it's like these two camps are kind of at odds with each other. Okay. Now, obviously, if you watch my videos and you know what camp I'm in, okay, it's definitely not the racist camp.
Stayed in there.
There is the state. So that's what we're arguing from.
Yeah,
that's when you get married. So you're telling me into court with you, they would say you pray to the judge. The judge is the authority in the court. So the God argument is a nice, interesting argument, and I probably am not going to stay on the conversation very long, because That's your God. That's your sky daddy.
Okay.
That's your religion. I have a different religion. So
What
who
does that
gives
have to
you
do with
the
anything?
listen? Who gives you the authority change or sending the conversation to your religion? That's your religion.
Not changing the conversation.
Okay,
anything.
so it only
We're
works
talking
if
about,
it only works if you believe in your sky daddy. That's the only way it works, and that's the
We're-
only way you're going to advise
well,
men.
we're talking about mitigating risk.
No. We're talking about, can men get into a marriage today only under your sky daddy?
Okay.
Now, can they,
Yeah, you can have secular marriage.
okay, go ahead and explain.
Okay. Yeah.
Make it work.
I just did. So
Make it work.
The argument that you have is that marriage is great. It's a great institution.
We already covered this.
Well, what made it great?
We already covered
What
this.
made it great?
Can we go into it, make it work for your secular?
Y- y-
That's the question
yeah.
I asked you.
But-
You're asking me questions back. Go ahead.
So, if talking about secular, there's never been any point to secular marriage ever. Never. What would ever be the point of secular marriage? It's always been a religious institution. That's what made it. Other than the fact that Sky Daddy and God had all these enforcement arms, and those things had to be enforced socially. Like, for instance, men weren't allowed to run away, and women, right? They had to show cause for these divorces, and they had to be good causes. They had to show it for things like infidelity. Right? It was all biblically governed. It was all lawfully governed by this Sky Daddy guy you like so little. But that's what made the institution great in the first place. And what you're talking about here, you're making a point that divorce is bad. And yet, I agree, divorce is bad.
Correct.
So what we're really talking about is how do we mitigate the risk for divorce? And we have two different methods here.
Well, the conversation is
Method-
marriage good for men. That's the conversation.
But it is. We already said it's good for men. That's not even a dispute.
And now, how do we make it better since they're avoiding
Well,
it?
it
Since
sounds
men or women
like
are avoiding it.
It sounds like the thing that you think makes it bad is divorce, not marriage.
Correct.
And I have to also say this, right? It's not just, he said, CGA says something very important, a very key detail that I didn't really mention. It's not just men that are avoiding marriage. It's also women that are avoiding marriage. You got some women out here that's kicking ass. They making $200,000 a year. They making over $100,000 a year. They already got a couple $100,000 in the bank account. They got 10, 15, 20,000 in a brokerage account. You know, whatever. They got a whole bunch of crypto. They don't want to get married either because they're concerned that they're going to have to pay some of their money to a man that they, basically marry and divorces them. So you got some women, quite a few women actually, that they don't want to get married. They're concerned about their assets, just like a man that has, some assets. They don't want to split that up, because even they probably even know what type of woman they are, a woman that doesn't like to listen to men. So the chances of them, they know they're smart enough to understand the chances of them probably staying in a marriage is probably slim to none because they don't really see the future in it, and they see the possibility that they're going to have a divorce and they're going to split their assets with their husband. And most likely, they also even know that they're going to get a husband. They're going to pick a guy that doesn't really have that many assets. So the judge is most likely, or the courts is going to most likely give him something in return because, that's what divorces typically happen. They split assets or, something like that. Like I remember my homie, he married a lawyer. One of my homies in high school, he married a lawyer. He just got, she worked out an agreement with him that he just get 20,000 and he took it. The thing is I think he was smart to take whatever he could. I think he should have got more. I would have asked for 50, but the reason he took it is because he got caught cheating. If he did go to court, the judge would have probably most likely would have saw favor in his wife because he's caught cheating. Okay, I mean, ultimately, you know, that I ain't gonna go into all of that. It's on one of my videos. I actually did a video on it. But yeah, women also don't want to get married either. They're concerned about, you know, losing out on some money or some assets. So that is also that's not talked about. Nobody hardly talks about that. You got a lot of women that got money. Like, look at Joy Taylor, for example. Joy Taylor is a prime example. Joy Taylor is a millionaire. A lot of people don't know that. Joy Taylor is a millionaire. Okay. You got Ebony K. Williams. Ebony K. Williams is a millionaire. Okay. They have issues, man, with getting married because they think some man is gonna probably take some money from them. You know, you got women that ain't even a millionaire. They probably sitting on maybe $500,000, maybe $250,000. They're concerned about that little money that they have getting split up from some man that they have to divorce. You know, so that also, it's not really talked about, but also a factor in this whole divorce thing, because these divorce laws, you know, they're very, very, very bad. Okay, very bad. And I mean, some women will agree with that. Most men will agree with that.
Need to mitigate divorce.
We're 15 minutes in, and we are in the land of reality. You finally call up. So you're dragging your feet.
So again, secular. There's never been any point to secular marriage ever.
Now listen, marriage is for child creation. It would be great for child community and all of these things. And now listen, by the time the religious aspects got in the marriage, they were chopping people's heads off and burning Bibles. So listen, I know we want to take it back to the past and act like the past was better, but there's always a negative part of the past. If you go back and you look at the English, this has all been there. People getting their crusaders were doing their things across countries, and they were spreading Christianity through threats and violence.
What does that have to do with anything?
Now, that's what you're trying to uplift. That's what you're trying to uphold.
I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
You wouldn't know what talking about.
I don't.
That's where you're lacking.
I have no
so
idea.
Catch up. You're sitting in the
What
cross
does
from me.
Crusades have to do with divorce?
That was when your holy marriage was the best marriage that you're trying to go to. Now listen,
in the 1950s, we're crusading in the 1950s.
What the hell are you talking about? You talked about the institution of marriage for 2,000 years.
Yeah,
sir. Do you need me to catch you up on what you're talking about? You're having trouble keeping up with me. You're having trouble keeping up with me. You said 2,000 years ago, and I told you 2,000 years ago they were chopping people's heads off.
Which has what to do with anything?
I need you to catch up with me, sir.
Okay.
If you want to take things back to the past, you have to accept everything as the past. You can't just cherry pick. Now, here's the thing. You're cherry picking. If you want to take things back to tradition, take it all the way back. Why stop at the 50s? Take it back to the 1890s.
What you're saying right now is so incoherent. I actually don't even understand
Well,
it.
that's what, listen. When you're running out of bullets, the last thing you do is the shame. All right.
I'm not even trying to shame you. It's just incoherent.
You to catch up with me.
Okay, catch me up.
Just say you're lacking if you can't keep it up.
It's
all right. Now here's the problem.
It's incoherent.
Here's the problem.
I don't know what to tell you.
Here's the problem you're having.
2,000 years ago, they were chopping heads off. Who gives a shit?
Listen,
what does that
you
do with
said
anything?
2,000 years ago. I'm coming up with yours. Your holy religious 2,000 years ago. It's been a part of the institution.
What does that have to do with this?
Exactly. Here's the problem. You're cherry picking.
Cherry picking what?
Listen.
I'm listening.
I'm gonna slow you down. I'm going to slow you down because I'm doing here. I'm going to slow you down.
Okay.
Because it's hard for you to keep up.
It is.
I understand. I understand because you have this is your toughest bait. Your audience knows this.
Oh, it's rough.
There's no God in marriage.
Okay.
In the United States.
Yeah.
Can we agree to that? When you get to divorce, there's no God in marriage.
We can't agree to that.
We need to agree to it because when you go into divorce court, there's no God. You can't bring in your God and your Bible. And at that particular point, none of your ecclesiastics marriage works.
Okay.
Period.
So the thing is, you just said, can we agree that there's no God in marriage? And then
you don't have to agree.
Hang on, calm down. And then he switched over to divorce. There's no God in divorce. But those are two different questions and proposition. Hang on, relax. The second thing is that me saying that what made marriage a great institution.
Eat this up a little bit. Let's go to the 37-minute mark here.
these men start getting divorced. See, what you're doing is you're leading.
We've been watching
for
it for longer.
You've been leading. You're going to lead men into a burning building.
Oh.
And the reason why, and this is a famous quote by Martin Luther King, is because the laws of integration didn't catch up fast enough for what he wanted for people to integrate. And what happened was it took him 12 to 15 years to realize that he led men or black people into a burning building in which integration was not possible at the time.
Okay.
You are also proposing the same thing for you to stick around to see the results of what you're proposing, because eventually you would have to pay the price. How did Martin Luther King pay the price? You would have to pay the price for the men that you misled.
So Martin Luther misled men, and that's why he was killed?
I said he misled black people. You missed that part.
Those
He said, okay, let me repeat it, because you're slow. All right, you're definitely you're slow, Neanderthal.
That's for sure.
Let me tell you something.
I'm dragging
Martin
Knuckles
Luther
over here.
King said specifically, related to black people and civil rights, I'll speak slowly for you, that he believed at the end, he led them into a burning building. I'm going to speak slower. The reason why is because the laws of integration did not catch up with what he would like to present. I may have led my people, that means his people, into a burning building.
Okay.
I would like for you, under your scenario, if your takes off, to see results, because it took Martin Luther King 12, 15 years to see the results
I understand
of
now.
his efforts. You're proposing something very extreme that majority of people aren't going to do. But let's just say because you like to hide the clouds of make-believe, if
they did.
this works,
Right.
I would love to see you represent these men in a divorce when they get their head bit off by these so-called women that are forced by Sky Daddy to stay in marriages.
This is really, like, I don't even understand.
I know you have a hard time understanding.
I do. I don't actually even understand how to read this because it's so incoherent, but I'm going to try anyway.
Oh, yeah, see, this is
So let's
So another thing is, and I said this from the start. A lot of times what men do, a lot of men are simps. Okay, because they're simps, what they do is they get with women, and then they could even be religious. Like I was brought up to be somewhat religious, right? So what happens is they're choosing their decisions off their little head and balls, and they're going with lust, right? And then they're getting a woman that don't even believe in God, not even religious at all. And it's like basically the divine order, because I do believe in the divine order as well, and that's God, man, women, child. It's women that don't even believe in that order. And it's a lot of men that are somewhat religious or even really religious. They're getting with women that are basically secular. Basically, they don't even believe in God. And basically, they don't believe also in the divine order of things. And then that's why guys be having all these problems. Because basically women like that shouldn't even be able to have children. They should just, be single and then enjoy their life. But men are procreating with women that don't even believe in God. They don't believe in the order. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's really why, why this country is basically ultimately falling. I do believe that. I strongly believe that. I technically, like, I'm not the only one that said this, so that's what's going on. People are getting with women that really don't like. Basically what I'm saying in short, you're supposed to, look at marriage, look at the ring as a championship ring. Because I know men understand that. They understand sports. Okay. Who gets the championship ring? Those that deserve it, right? All right, you had to win a whole bunch of games. You had to get through the playoffs to prove yourself. Prove that you had to prove that you were the best team. You had to beat the teams during the regular season. Then you had to beat the teams in the playoffs. Then you have to go to the championship game and beat that team, and then you get a championship ring. Well, basically, men don't do that. Men do not vet women. Women don't men do not make women prove that they're champions. You're only supposed to marry champions. Maybe I have to do a video. I have to do a live stream on that, because that's what that ring represents a lot of different things. But in my strong opinion, that ring is that woman is proven to be a champion. You vetted her. She came and bailed you out of jail for some bogus racist, traffic cop that pulled you over and locked you up in the middle of the night. She got out of her fucking bed and she bailed you out. She, basically, you broke your leg. You couldn't walk on it. She basically stayed with you and fed you, helped clean you up, help you get through your tough time, take you to the doctor's office, so they can check on your leg, took you to physical therapy. Those are things that are proven. She's proven that she is worthy of that championship ring. I am guilty of this, and I'm telling young men primarily, or men in general, you haven't put this woman through the fire. The ring is basically saying this is a champion. She deserves this ring. A lot of men give women rings and marry them that they don't deserve it. Okay, that's the problem. That's one of the biggest problems. You don't vet these women, and these women have not been proven enough to be married. Now, it is some women that are probably good women and they just got some asshole dudes. That's on the woman. You're staying with him because his dick is good and he ain't shit. That's your cross to bear, your heel to fall on. So, those are some of the things that, basically a lot of men in this country I've seen guilty of.
This is his always incoherent when he understands. Perhaps you don't understand. That might be what it is. And it's okay to say you don't understand. And I can speak slowly for you.
I don't understand now, but I'm going to tell you why.
Dismissive. I'm going
to tell you why.
It's okay. When you're losing, well, and I can speak
let me know when I can talk and he gas out. Go ahead. Okay.
Go ahead.
So here's
typical tactic. But you can work that against these OnlyFans girls. Hey, listen, you can work that tactic against those OnlyFans girls that you debate. Debating 23-year-old ignorant women.
They're smarter than you.
Now, they're smarter. Yeah, you're across from a person here that look at it in the end, say you don't understand something very simple.
Let me know when he gas out.
This is the simplest thing that you can understand.
Okay.
Your go.
Are you sure?
Please.
I can actually do it this time?
And please, put me to sleep. Please.
Okay, so
put me to sleep.
Here's why it's incoherent, and there's a bunch of this I don't understand. You keep on saying that these men are going to get divorced, and yet I'm proposing non-state marriages. How are they going to get divorced? Well, you can only say then via common law. But again, you have no defense yourself against
these are if scenarios. Come on. Please, said I was going to debate somebody that's going to come.
Why do you keep filibustering?
Scenario.
Give me a real scenario. I let you speak the entire time.
Give me something to speak about.
Okay.
You're giving me
I'm not
an
asking
scenario.
you to speak.
You're trying to invite me to your church.
I'm not
going to your church. Please give me a real scenario.
You have to shut up long enough for me to do it.
Come on, please. I've been here 30 minutes waiting for you to do it.
All right.
Give me a real scenario.
Okay. So what I don't understand here, again, and I'm going to ask again, in your incoherent worldview,
okay, please.
You keep on saying that these men who I propose this to are going to divorce, but I'm not that the area is potential for common law here, but that's something you yourself cannot guard them from by your own admission. The second problem that we have here is that I don't have to stick around for 10 or 15 years because we can look at the numbers right now in religious marriage for what this looks like. And here's what this looks like. If you're a Catholic, you're way less likely to get divorced. And if you're Orthodox, even less likely to get divorced. And it's because of that ecclesiastical structure. You're not ever going to be able to prevent all risk from divorce, not under anything.
Thank you, God. That's the most realistic thing you've said all day.
But not under any system.
Correct.
Is that going to be the case.
But why are Catholics getting divorced? How do they get divorced?
They get annulment. They don't even get divorces.
Okay,
and it's a really long
Christians have a similar divorce rate than the secular.
No.
So they have a
No.
Very close. So how do they get divorced? Get divorced?
If you, I'll answer your
Please,
question.
please tell me, because I know how to get divorced.
so if
Right
you
into
say-
the divorce court.
Yeah, I know. So I'm proposing that they don't do that, right?
Okay, a land the make believe. If
How's that a man land
If-
make believe? You can go fucking do it right now.
please tell me what
What are you
percent-
talking
listen,
about?
What percentage of people do this particular thing that you're doing, that you're proposing?
Why
What
would that
percent-
matter? Let's
Why
say
does it
one
matter?
person.
Okay,
Why would that
it's- okay, it's
matter?
one person. So you're taking a very small chance. You're
Uh-huh.
arguing against me that has millions of people on my
Who are
side.
getting
and
divorced and
millions-
you don't want
But
them
you're
to.
telling me a small 20 people in a little house on the prairie
Yeah.
that do these, that you govern people without electricity and,
Okay.
and you riding horse and carriages.
Yeah.
You're telling me this small percentage of people
Uh-huh.
are going to lead a movement of doing something you're proposing here on YouTube. This is going, how many people are doing this?
Okay. Why
How
would
many
that
people-
matter?
It would matter because
Why?
then we can use some data to determine, do these people end up in divorce?
Well, we can
More
do it.
than likely.
This is great
Please
because
do.
we can look at the data. So
I
let's
would
look
love
at.
to, please.
Do you want to look at the Catholic data and Orthodox data for marriage?
We're talking about your ecclesiastic proposal.
That
That's what
is
we're
the
talking about.
This is the
Okay.
ecclesiastical
If
proposal.
we're using Catholic and Christians, their divorce rate tends to be very
No.
close.
I'll look it up.
It's very close. Let's go
Not
ahead and look it
Catholic.
up. Hold on for a second.
Self-ID'd Christians.
Okay,
Self-ID'd Christians.
Okay.
Self-ID.
Sci-fi. No, let's just put Christians.
Christian?
He's like,
Christian and
he
Catholic?
You have
likes
to
dice
define-
up-
you have
he
to tell
likes
me what a
di-
Christian
He likes to
is.
dice up all of these
It's
people. And listen,
important.
listen. I would love to go to your church one day. I would be
Okay.
a wonderful guest, and I would love to thump the Bible, and I would love to say a prayer with you.
Uh-huh.
However, this conversation is entering
Can we
into
pull up my screen?
very much a Sky Daddy conversation. Which
All right, we got it.
It's about belief.
brought up
Pulled up right here.
That's not.
Head up.
What is that? That's,
So that is a religious
if
argument.
you're an
which more
atheist, you
people
should
in
be
a
able
religion-
to
Okay, listen,
contend
listen,
with that.
a lot of people are gonna
Divorce.
do
We're
this.
not mitigating the rates of divorce. It
now,
doesn't matter how many
Can
do
we
it.
move forward from this one? We agree to disagree.
No, we
Can we
don't
mo-
agree to disagree.
Okay,
I need
so you want to
counter
keep it here in
argument.
your land and make a.
I want
make-believe.
counter
No,
arguments.
I'm not going to argue in your land of make believe.
Yeah,
here's a here's a kind of argument.
Okay, what is it?
There's no God in marriage. How many times do I have to say that?
That's an
If you
assertion.
end
It's
up-
not an argument.
If you end up in divorce court, God argument that you can possibly hear. Soon as you
How do
go-
you end
hold on
up
for
in a
second, hold on.
divorce court without the state?
Hold on for a second. Hold on
How?
for a second. Hold on for a second. I'm gonna tell you. You have.
Okay.
In the
Okay.
1940s.
So they flashed this little chart here. I want to read it for you so you can see. Let me actually make this bigger. All right, let's see. Okay. So basically it says the divorce rates by religion is 19 to 25% Catholic, mainline Protestant, which is 30 to 35% of divorces. Evangelical Protestants make up 26 to 33% of divorces, and then non-religious unaffiliated make up 37 to 40%. So 33% of all adults, 1/3 of ever married adults have divorced. So 1/3, one out of 3 people has divorced, has some divorce in their relationship history. So let me also share something, and I'm gonna go back to this. Basically, divorce rates by class. I don't think Andrew Wilson kind of alluded to this or mentioned this earlier, but marriage rates, and I've said this many a times, I've talked about this, marriage rates by class differ significantly. So basically, middle and upper class marriage rates have the highest marriage rates. Okay, so 56% of middle and upper class Americans age 18 to 55 are married in a middle and upper middle class. So basically, the upper class marriage rates is 80%. Well, while the working class marriage rates are lower at 39%, and low and poor people in poverty make up 26% of the marriage rates. Okay, so mainly most of the people that are married are the middle and upper class. Now, with the divorce rates, the middle and upper class have divorce is less common. Less than 1/3 of every married man and woman in these classes have been divorced. The divorce rate for the college educated upper middle class is 15%. So that's pretty low. Okay. So when you look at things by religion or even color, it doesn't tell the whole story. But when you look at it by class, it drills down further to let you know that this is an economic issue. I mean, basically, the risk of divorce and everything is an economic issue. It's a financial issue because you're going to be, the men typically are, take some type of financial loss in marriage because of divorce. So also I have to note that obviously if you're wealthy, right, you have a lot of financial security to shield you from a loss in a divorce. Okay, the poor don't have that. The middle class even don't have that. So you know, the working class and the lower class they don't have that. You know, so and a lot of times marriages fall apart because of financial issues, financial stress. So that leads to a lot of divorces. So it says divorce is more common. More than 40% of working class and poor adults who have ever married have been divorced. A separate source states that divorce rates for those with a high school diploma or less is over 50%. So when you look at education and also class, it tells you a more contrast story to what's going on with marriage and divorce. Okay, so let me continue this further and play this out here.
God doesn't matter. None of this matters. That's real. That's the realest argument that you can possibly hear. Soon as
How do you end up in a divorce court without the state?
Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. I'm going to tell you how.
Okay.
In the 1940s, which you so love, I don't know why you don't live there. You look like you live there. You're dressed like you live there. Here's the problem. Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. Here's the problem.
Okay.
These people under your high rates, once no fault divorce showed up, it started at 25%. Then by the time you get here, it's close to 40 and 50%. It's still prevalent. I'm giving you the reality here.
Not the reality.
You're trying to drag. How about this?
How about a counter
traditional marriage, I gave you one.
What?
I mean, come on, man.
What is the It's an assertion, not an argument.
God in divorce court.
God's not
that. There's no
okay, well, there is a
God
God in divorce court. Argument defeated.
Exactly.
Argument defeated.
Oh my goodness, boy, Mr. Toys.
It's just ridiculous.
Like, here's a problem.
I want an argument.
This is the absolute argument.
Okay.
You're trying to drag me to church. I'm taking you outside of church. You can't combat it because you want to battle inside the church. I'm not.
All right, so let me speed this up a little bit and go to the 1 hour mark. Because by this time they kind of getting heated. All right, so
hold on for a second. You need
get on.
So
and social
So you want to go? You want to go? In order for your marriage to work, they have to be white, Christian.
They don't have to be white.
Make money, and then also probably live in a certain region.
If it's the
Now,
case,
what if that's the case?
then
in
we use
hills
the
of the United-
apparatuses.
If you take the rest of the United States, they're highly not that. That is outside of those demographics.
And don't
So
you want
what
to
if
change
they're-
that?
What if they're outside of that?
Don't
What
you
if they're
wanna-
not white
don't-
and Christian?
Don't just what I divorced in. There's going to be contributing factors for why that is. I don't think that like black people are just ontologically different than white people. Do you? Do you just believe like that at their core they're just ontologically different, or do you think that they're the same? Because if that's the case, if for equal people and equal people groups, then there must be some other social factor relating to the black community. Please target those issues to prevent that from happening, right? We're going to do one, you have a distinction in economic certitude. The second one is you got a massive abortion rate, which is super problematic. Another one is you use matriarchal structures in the family home instead of patriarchal. Huge issue that you have. By the way, when it was Christian based, didn't happen. It was a patriarchal structure inside those black homes. And boy, they didn't put up with shit. Not the case anymore. So you have multiple factors here which need to be addressed. I agree with that. Nobody ever did disagree with that, though. They still, which will assist them in governing their marriage, that white people would have, and it would still assist with the mitigation of risk. What's the alternative?
All right, so I just asked AI to tell me about black, basically African Americans is like basically the same stats as far as marriage true among black people. And it says, yes, the general trend, the higher socioeconomic status correlates with higher marriage rates and lower divorce rates is also true amongst black Americans, but with some key distinctions compared to white Americans. Let's drill down on this. Okay, marriage and divorce. First of all, let me share my screen. So, oh yeah, I'm already doing that. Okay. Let me zero this in a little bit more. All right. So marriage rates among black Americans are lower overall compared to white Americans, regardless of class. However, within the black community, higher income and college educated black women are more likely to be married than with less education or lower income. Okay. Okay. Than those with less education or lower income. So basically, women with higher income, black women with higher income tend to be married more than those that have less education and lower income. All right. Economic stability and availability of marriageable black men with similar socioeconomic standing are significant factors influencing marriage rates. Okay. Still, even at that same educational levels, black women are less likely to have ever married by a certain age compared to white women. Okay. So there's some differences when you get to the black community as far as, you know, who's married and not. They're pointing out black women, you know, basically have some differences when it comes to this, who gets married and who doesn't. So divorce rates, black Americans generally have higher divorce rates than other racial and ethnic groups. The pattern within the black community, however, shows some unique variations. Interesting. Have to, you know, let's look at this. Education, while across all races, higher education leads to lower divorce rates. Studies have shown that the racial gap in divorce remains even at a higher educational, even at higher educational levels. Okay. In some older studies, The divorce rates for Black women was found to increase as their education level increased, which contrasts with the trend for white women. This has been linked to factors such as shortage of Black men at the same educational level. Okay, so basically, Black women, they found that Black women that have higher educational levels have a higher divorce rate. Okay, and they, is a shortage of Black men in that same educational level. Okay, income similar to the general population, lower income levels correlate with higher divorce rates among Black Americans. Financial stress, job insecurity are major contributors to marital instability. Racial gap. The gap in divorce rates between Black and white women is most pronounced at higher education levels, with college educated Black women more likely to be divorced or separated than even white women who dropped out of high school. God damn. I was waiting for some shit that I really didn't know. And that's crazy right there. That is like if I could drop a bomb, I would have dropped it right now. This is crazy. Watch the manosphere run off with this stat right here. This is a crazy one right here. This is wild. So, a white woman that's a college dropout from the trailer parks or whatever has a lower divorce rate than a Black woman that has a PhD or a bachelor's or higher. That is crazy. That is letting you know right there that is something is off right there. And basically a staunch Black feminist will say, there's no Black men that are in our, college level background, so we're not choosing any dusties with, CDLs. Like, I mean, that's crazy. Like, a fucking white woman that has dropped out of high school has a lower divorce rate than college educated Black women. That is fucking crazy right there. I did not know that one. I did not know that one. That is wild. I need to pause for a moment of silence on that. Golly. Oh my God. Oh wow. So let's go back to this debate, watch some more of this, and then we'll close it on out. That is crazy right there. Oh my God. Oh man.
Get married? Well, what good does that do for Blacks? What good does that do? It just leads to more abortion. It just leads to more degeneracy. It leads to high crime rates, and the single motherhood's out of control. So, like, what do you do? Anything?
You said things that people have known for the past 45 years, but I appreciate that. Hold on for a second. Thank you for contributing to a common conversation that people know you offer no illusion. It's great. Now, here's the problem. Here's the problem with back and look at and say that Blacks with more stable relationships and marriages, then each tradition seems to always hit this point of 1940s where you shine this light of traditionalism that's in a snapshot, then all take it further. Why don't we take it back to bride prices? I mean, how far in tradition you're gonna ago. You're only gonna bang your head around 1940 and 50 because you watched a couple of movies and I Love Lucy episodes. That's not true again.
So
take it back further. There's
Okay.
no marriages in the
Fine.
black community.
let's say we'll
Okay.
take it. Let's say we take it all the way back to the 17th, just for the sake of just for this. Let's just say, what is your
All right, so we got some buffering here.
in the black community to not get married? How is that going to assist with abortion? How is that going to assist with strong fathers in the home? How is that going to assist with the only demographic population which can't reproduce itself? How? Can you give me a prescription here?
I mean, I agree with you on this.
I just prescription, dude.
Problem. I agree. Listen, if you provide this prescription, Farrakhan Martin, a second, listen, heal this issue, and they haven't.
No, they
so,
didn't.
so I don't have a prescription
That's
for the black
right.
community because
That's
the
right.
black community is pretty much doomed at this particular
Uh-huh.
point. They have too much degeneracy. They have single mother rates at the 70 and 80%.
black
But I'm going to tell you
bullshit.
something. You want to come in here and tell me something about Ecclesiastics, and you're
Mhm.
telling me about the reality of the black community, how to fix it. Nobody's been able to for that.
Black people actually believed in Ecclesiastics and understood, like, basically Solomon was a black man and they should really follow Ecclesiastics and all of that, then maybe you might have a chance. But the average black person is so downtrodden because they weren't educated by their parents. Basically what happened, grandma and them, great grandma and them used to go to church. Mama, by the time mama came of age, she hated the church. She didn't like going to church. She hated Bible study. She hated going to church with grandma. It was boring. She didn't like it. So then she grew up, it's like basically somebody that don't like vegetables when they were a little kid. They grow up and they don't eat vegetables. And then they wonder why they unhealthy and got type 2 diabetes and got heart issues and lung problems breathing. You ain't eating no vegetables. Your mama taught you how to eat properly. Eat your vegetables. You ain't want to eat them. So you growing up, you got all these problems, So it's like basically, yeah, black people, solid. Like if white people following Ecclesiastics or even mentioning Ecclesiastics and black people are not, that's a problem right there. That lets you know black people have a problem. And one of that problem is reading books and being coherent and understanding who you are. Like a lot of black people really don't know who they are, and it just goes to show. So when people don't know who they are, they're like hollow people. With a hollow person, you could just, basically, they're like a shell of a person walking around. They don't know who they are, and of course, white people actually adopt the strategy of basically I call it whitewashing history. So they make every historical figure, every religious, they got white Jesus, they got they got Solomon is white, and so they teach their children that these people were white, but they weren't. They were black. They were from Africa. They were from basically the Axum Empire. That area, all of that area was under East African control. The Arabs came in, and then the Europeans came in after, and took over that land. So a lot of people don't know that history. So yeah, basically the smartest women, they married, right? The women that look good and smart, they're married. If you notice that, a lot of them are not, but a lot of them, like, they kind of need, like, a lot of women that are pretty and educated or even educated, they really need to be spanked. And what I mean by them needing to be spanked is, life is going to spank you regardless, and they are getting spanked. But what I mean by they need a spanking is they need somebody to help them understand that your ego is only as good as the grave that you're going to get buried in. And, you know, basically, in short, you got all of this high and mightyism that's keeping you from getting to getting a man. You know, you believe that you're so high above everyone, you know, but you're single, right? You know, you can get a degree and get passed for a doctoral dissertation, but you can't keep a man satisfied. You know, that's something even a whore on the street knows how to keep a man satisfied. And they don't have any education hardly at all. And you, with all of this education and all of these book smarts, you don't know how to satisfy a man. You can't keep a man satisfied for longer than a month before they, you know, break camp and go get some, say they're going to go get some milk or cigarettes and never come back. Like, just, you know, basically a lot of these women, they just, you know, society has made them incapable narcissists, you know, and it's kind of hard trying to get through to a narcissist. They believe whatever you say is wrong and they're right.
Look,
Now, at that particular point, you're saying the risk is higher. It certainly will be higher under those matriarchal conditions. So you get no argument from me there. So at that point, we're statistics like then.
That says the guy who literally just got done saying, I have zero prescription.
Because
so let me tell you done, which will help mitigate these
please
issues.
Please
the
do.
First is
that you can accomplish, not some pipe dream.
That can be accomplished.
Okay, here we go.
That can be accomplished politically, and already are beginning to be accomplished politically. The first is you have to outlaw abortion and do another abortion, right? One of the biggest problems with promiscuity in the Black community is that they use abortion as a form of birth control. Same problem that you see in the white community, by the way. It's just more prevalent in the Black community. The next problem that you have there is lack of religiosity, where the feminist bra-burning lunatics that told Black women not to be under the evil patriarchy of their men. And yet, at this point, the men are rolling over and allowing the matriarchy to take over in their own community. Is a return to traditional church ethics going to assist that? Of course it will. Of course it will. How do I know? Because it did then, just a few short years ago. I'm not talking about hundreds of years ago. I'm talking about 60 years ago. By the way, there's other things that you can do too. Getting rid of EBT, getting rid of social programs which are designed to keep people dependent. These are all things which can be politically accomplished. Just like abortion, the starting of banning that was politically accomplished.
EBT, you know, they gonna come, the white people gonna come hang his ass with a lynch mob because most of the white people are on EBT. It's a bunch of white people that are on SNAP benefits. I mean, because it's a lot of white people that don't have the money. I mean, and there's white people that circumvent the system too. So it's like more of them than anybody. So, you know, I don't hate, but I mean, I get why white people do this shit, but it's the internet. They act like the internet doesn't exist. And they act like even now, you know, this AI era, this shit is crazy, bro. This is like, I mean, this shit is so crazy because now you don't really have to, like, before you used to have to Google stuff and you had to like really research and you had to pinpoint the right actual wordage and, you know, sift through a bunch of links and all of this shit. Man, you just plug that right in the chat GPT or any AI LLM Boom, you got the results right there. And it's like, now you in the AI era. We moved past the internet era. We're now in the AI era where you can just get facts on demand for the most part. And it's like they still saying this bullshit because it's just a narrative to redirect the negative sentiments away from them towards somebody else. And it's like, you know, a lot of this stuff has come from, you know, this government shutdown, which is now historically the longest shutdown in US history. Everybody knows that SNAP is primarily for, you know, it's like 30, I think it's like 34% of, let's look this up because, you know, I'm tired of, you know, hearing this shit because it's just so lame, you know what I'm saying, that it's just ridiculous. When you break this down, you look at the recipients, the welfare recipients by race, you'll see, you know, it's just, you shouldn't even bring anything about any welfare because white people are the most populous of people that get welfare. And it makes sense because white people, there's more white people than anybody in this country. So of course there's going to be a larger demographic of them getting SNAP benefits. And that's with them being, white people have over $100 trillion in wealth compared to black people, over $100 trillion, and they still get SNAP benefits. You know, basically, because not all of them have money like that. So when it comes to SNAP benefits by race, whites make up 36.2% of recipients, whites, non-Hispanics. Blacks make up 25.4%, but we're poor as shit. We don't get nothing. We ain't got no reparations. We don't get, you know, and then they removed affirmative action. We don't get any, you know, and then we get racially profiled every day by the police. We get denied a lot of jobs based off of race. We get denied loans based off of race. If we do qualify for loans, we get unfavorable interest rates by the proxy of being black. You know, get overbilled, overcharged. You know, that's why they call it a black tax. I mean, and the most unemployed, you know, the most impoverished, the most homeless, you know, and you know, it's like you could understand that we get, you know, SNAP, but why are white people getting, you know, 36% of the SNAP benefits? You know, Hispanics get 20.6, and then Asians get like 2.8, and others get the remaining. So the thing is like, you know, we're in an AI age. You can't make this shit up. You can't just lie and say shit like it's not true. People can point out the statistics and hardline it, and then you can't say anything about it. You can try to argue or make excuses, because I've heard excuses to where they're saying that Hispanics and other ethnicities identify as white on the census, and that throws their numbers up. That's bullshit. That's not how it goes. You know, I've been around this country. I've seen a lot of poor white people, and especially in rural areas, podunk white people struggling. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I'm tired of people, you know, trying to paint the narrative that, you know, white people are all balling out of control, you know, with yachts and Corvettes and you know, basically mansions. That's not true.
In our lifetime. And the thing is like, you have no prescriptions. Fuck, at least I'm trying here, man.
Man, Andrew, you are Captain Obvious. This is the
Well, then
obvious.
why did you
Because-
obviously
because-
state it as a prescription?
Have exhausted them. Trust me, they're people way better than you, that dress
Who?
better than you and shave their beard
Yeah,
better
whatever.
than you, that can highly influential. 92% of black women voted for Democrats. That's also possibly where most of those women go to church. So black churches are over women in women's club, and you're telling me about
Not the
something
traditional
completely
churches.
obvious that everybody has pointed out for 25 years. You're not giving me anything new. This is a completely obvious scenario, and you believe that you've enlightened me over here, and you're waiting for me to give you a solution.
A
Let me
debate
tell you
is
something.
not about
I'm-
changing your mind.
You certainly would never do that. Now, at this particular point here, the unsettling experience that men experience in divorce, all right, you're saying you're just going to mitigate it or eradicate it. What about the small percentage of men that experience it and go through issues like high levels of self-deletion, high levels of them not being able to recover financially ever? They're still going to experience this under your scenario.
Yes.
This doesn't disappear.
It'll
What
never
prescription
disappear.
do you for those men that went to your marriage
Yeah.
and they got divorced 33%? What do you do
Well,
with
no, it's not
these men?
33% by
Okay,
tradition.
20%, 30%. It still was at a high rate.
I think it would
what
even be
prescription
lower than that.
You would hope so. You would hope so. But hope is not a strategy. What hold on for a second. What scenario do you have for men that you led into the burning building when they experience separation from their children, parental alienation, high levels of self-deletion?
Yeah.
What prescription do you have, sir, that you sold?
Yeah,
have
that's a
all
great
you
question.
have all the answers. Please enlighten us.
Yeah, so-
what you're going to do with these men?
so-
Are you going to enforce them to have sex
Yeah,
with
yeah.
other virgins that
I'll
you have on the
answer.
sideline?
I'll answer the question,
Please
but I
do.
want to make a deal with you that if I answer this last question of yours, that you'll actually answer when I ask you after that. Is that a
Listen, we're
deal?
not in a court of law. I don't have to answer anything. I can state something.
Yeah, I know,
and
but
then
I'm
we
asking
go
if we
back
can
and
make
forth.
a deal. That if I
I'll
answer this
consider
question, you'll answer
answering
my
the
next
question
one.
that you asked me. I'll
So
consider
we're not
it.
going to make a deal on that?
I don't have to make a deal. Listen,
You don't
I'll
have to.
consider
I'm asking if
answering
you will.
something. Possibly. So go ahead.
Possible? Okay, well
Possibly.
then I possibly will hold the debate hostage until you possibly make a deal with
All
me.
right, great. So that gives me the floor.
So we'll just sit here and
They
stare
give
at
me
each
the floor.
other, or we
Well,
just
here's the deal.
filibuster each other. Like
At this particular point,
so
oh, you don't
I-
want to.
so I can
you want
answer.
to answer it. You want to
Yeah,
answer it. I
but
know
you're
you
not
wanna
going to.
answer
But you're
it.
not going to answer mine. I just want that clear. You're not going to answer mine after. You're just going to
I
filibuster and
answered the
stonewall
question.
again.
I ask you the question. Put it on the table.
So this is pretty simple, right? What you're proposing here. Every policy prescription which is made anywhere in any nation, with any people group, from the tribal all the way to the national level, is going to be a trade-off, no matter what. There's always going to be some people who are disaffected by it in some small percentage, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. We don't run societies based on outliers. The second thing is, when it comes to suicide in men, particularly, one of the best ways to mitigate that is to begin the process of eliminating deployment of troops abroad. Because one of the biggest contributing factors to male suicide, including in marriage with divorce, is their veteran status. And it's because they really depend on their family to assist them with what's going on mentally from the fact they've been deployed in these wars. And one thing you could really do that would help that's what the American First policy is we want to bring troops home, no more foreign wars. That will greatly help and aid with this problem. And by the way, policy-wise, it's already been aiding with this as
Okay,
Trump has
this
wound
is-
these wars down. And by the way,
Let's go
I'll
ahead and-
point out
That's a good.
I'm gonna-
That's a good one. I like it.
I'll
Go
point
ahead.
out a few more things that
Go
you
ahead,
can
please
do.
do. Yes.
So another thing that you can do is at the national level, right? Propaganda works. I'm sure you agree. Propaganda absolutely works.
Absolutely.
If at a national level you had propaganda, which instead of showing LGBTQ flags, degeneracy, girl bossing, shit like this, which is what you see everywhere, you had institutional family units instead. You saw where and that's the social status. That would really help people's psyche around. They're indoctrinated towards the degeneracy, same way you can indoctrinate them out of degeneracy. That's how we got a whole nation to smoke. And it's also how we got a whole nation to quit smoking. So the thing is, like, there really are good prescriptions here. And the only thing I get from you,
Wait a minute.
hang on.
We're talking about
Hang on,
self-deletion
almost
of
done.
men.
Almost done.
Okay.
Yes, that'll
Okay.
help with self-deletion of men. Yes. And it's one of the biggest contributing factors. Single motherhood, another huge contributing factor. These are all things which we need to mitigate. And by the way, these are all great prescriptions. You said I don't have none.
No. For a second. That's what you said. Now, here's the deal. These are great prescriptions. I happen to live in the time that you're talking about when the FCC didn't allow degeneracy, and I was able to live through the time where they started to allow it. So I, unfortunately, was able to see a time where America was great, and now we had dysfunction. So I agree with some of those things. That took place probably 40 or 50 years. It would take a very, very
Maybe 100
unique
years.
scenario for that to occur when you have Cardi B and this type of music out here. And she's a single mother divorcee with a man that is having babies
See,
with
now
multiple
that's
men.
a good argument.
Okay, so how?
That's an actual argument.
Hold
The
on for a
first one
second.
I've
No,
heard.
that's something that you agree with. That's okay.
No, that's an
okay. That's
actual
okay.
argument.
No, it's an agree. You just agree. You can be humble enough to say you.
That's
agree
an
with me.
actual
No,
argument.
no, listen. You don't have to be. You don't have to belittle or attempt to belittle.
Well,
I'm here a grown
I'm
ass
not.
man.
The argument
just say
is
you agree.
propaganda
Hey,
takes
listen,
time.
listen. Just say you agree. You wanted me
It's
to
not
answer
a matter
question.
of
Just say you
agreement. It's
agree.
a matter of
Just say
recognizing
you
that was an
agree. It's
argument.
okay.
All right, enough of that. I think that's about it. We got the point. Very good live stream. I added my data to the conversation. Okay. He's added the religious data. I've added the data on classes and race. It's primarily black, the black people. I got through what I was trying to get through. So, enjoy.